Mary Louise Cook here. Welcome on into another episode of FCS All-In. As always, today's episode will feature segments from the conferences around the FCS and contributions from national correspondent Sam Herder of Hero Sports. With a conference play continuing to heat up in the FCS, it's time to go all in.
Coming off a week that saw 3 of the 4 CA football games decided by 7 points or less, there's another exciting slate of league contests on tap this Saturday. Highlighting the 5-game schedule are a pair of top 25 matchups. In Harrisonburg, 3rd-ranked James Madison entertains number 11 Villanova. The Duke's defense ranks 2nd in FCS, giving up just 31 yards per game on the ground this season. But JMU head coach Kirk Cignetti knows his team faces a formidable Wildcats rushing attack led by Justin Covington.
We'll be challenged this week, obviously, with Villanova, who's got excellent running backs. And, they got players across the board on their whole entire team.
Villanova head coach Mark Ferrante says despite the strength of the JMU run defense, the Wildcats don't want to become one-dimensional on offense.
We're going to do our normal attack. We're going to try to be as balanced as we can. We're not going to just come in there and all of a sudden, because of what they've been able to do against the run in previous weeks, abandon our run game. We're going to try to go in there and execute what it is that we want to do.
The other top 25 showdown features 18th-ranked Rhode Island, which is off to a 4-0 start for the first time since 2001, hosting 9th-ranked Delaware. Rams quarterback Kasim Hill accounted for 292 yards of offense and 2 TDs in last week's win, which impressed URI head coach Jim Fleming.
Fourth quarter and overtime, the kid was 10 for 13 for 134 yards, 1 touchdown throw and 1 touchdown rushing. So if you can get that kind of performance at the critical junctures of games, then I'm very, very comfortable.
Delaware head coach Danny Rocco knows slowing down the dual-threat Hill will be a key for his team on Saturday.
And I see a quarterback that, understands how to distribute the football, and he's doing it with more confidence, more accuracy, and then he can make a play with his legs. And that's kind of the one thing that always makes things a little more difficult to defend.
Elon picked up a 20-7 win at number 22 Richmond last week and is back on the road this Saturday at Maine. The Phoenix defense stopped the Spiders inside the 5-yard line on 3 second-half possessions to secure the victory, which pleased Elon head coach Tony Trisciani.
We made some critical stops in the red zone and on the goal line, and those are prideful stops and moments for our defense that we can build on.
Maine head coach Nick Charlton has taken notice of the performance of the Elon defense.
I think, what they did, is, especially in the red zone in that game, was very impressive. So I think you could feel them flying around on film. So we got to be able to match that and be physical.
William & Mary is off to its best start since 2014 with a 3-1 record and hosts UAlbany on Saturday. Tribe head coach Mike London is looking to build on his team's 3-game winning streak.
Having 3 positive games back-to-back is something that you hope to build on from a confidence level. Can't rest on your laurels. You got to play this game and then worry about what happens after all that.
The Great Danes are still searching for their first victory after a difficult schedule, and head coach Greg Gattuso knows Saturday's game is a critical one.
To be competing in this league, we have to win this football game if we have any hopes of driving towards some type of successful end.
Rounding out the schedule is Stony Brook visiting Towson at 4 p.m. Both teams are known for their tough physical styles, and Seawolves head coach Chuck Priori and Tigers head coach Rob Ambrose are expecting more of the same on Saturday.
When I look at the film, I think they're a physical offensive line. I think the same thing defending the run. They've been able to knock things down. You got to really throw the stats away.
The numbers change on that defense and the scheme gets tweaked a little bit, but the hustle, the physicality, and the intensity of it always shows up.
Here's a look at Saturday's schedule around CAA football.
With conference races heating up in the midway point of the season, here's a look at what's happening around the Southern Conference.
4 Southern Conference schools are either receiving votes or solidly inside the national polls this week. ETSU appears in both polls at 12th and 13th respectively, while Chattanooga is at 19th in one poll, receiving votes in the other. Joining them in that category, the receiving votes category, Mercer and VMI, also on the verge of being in national polls, entering play this week. In behind that group of 4, Of course, Chattanooga and the Citadel completing that with 1-0 beginnings to their Southern Conference slate. It's VMI, Samford in the middle of the pack, and Furman, Wofford, and Western Carolina all looking for their first conference win this coming weekend. Mercer and Samford played a thriller last weekend in Macon. Running back Fred Davis rushed for 276 yards and notched 5 touchdowns to lead the way. Both of those school records for the Macon crew. He was named the FCS National Offensive Player of the Week for those efforts. In the end, his team upended the Bulldogs 45-42 in a home win. The Citadel claimed the Silver Shacko for the first time since 2018, doing so in Charleston behind a strong day from quarterback Jalen Adams. Adams rushed for a career-high 188 yards and a touchdown, threw for another as part of a 114-yard effort. Bulldogs were led defensively by Dominique Poole, who earned Southern Conference Defensive Player of the Week honors with a 5-touchdown, 3-pass breakup, and 1 INT effort. The interception taking place in a key moment in the end zone, slowing a VMI offensive unit that racked up nearly 400 yards of total offense on the day. In the end, despite those monster numbers, it would be the Citadel on top by a final of 35-24. Chattanooga shined in its fall 2021 Southern Conference opener, holding the Catamounts of Western Carolina to less than 300 total yards, while watching quarterback Cole Copeland throw for 239 of his own. Copeland accounted for a trio of touchdowns in a 45-17 win for the Mocs over the Catamounts. And ETSU remained perfect behind an 81-yard rushing day from running back Quay Holmes, who caught the game-winning touchdown pass with 10:46 left to play, part of a 4-reception, 104-yard day through the air, a new career high. And alongside those 80-plus yards on the ground, also notched a touchdown in that department. When the dust settled, it was 27-21 as ETSU survived a push from Wofford to open 5-0 on the year and 2-0 in conference play. This week's Southern Conference slate includes VMI hosting Chattanooga. Wofford welcomes in Furman in that upstate showdown. Western Carolina is going to host Mercer, and the Citadel travels to Johnson City, Tennessee, taking on the highly regarded ETSU Bucks.
So there's our weekly glance around the SoCon for Week 6 of the FCS football season.
Welcome to the Missouri Valley Football Conference Extra Point. 5 conference unbeatens remain, with 4 of the 5 teams playing each other this weekend. South Dakota State is off to their first 4-0 start since 2000. The Jackrabbits numbers are eye-popping. A 156-point differential, the largest in school history through 4 games. A perfect 20 for 20 in the red zone. The Jacks have yet to turn the ball over this season while forcing 9 turnovers. And South Dakota State leads all FCS schools in the Sagarin rankings and is 49th overall, putting them ahead of 82 FBS programs and 24 Power 5 schools. North Dakota State's defense has been stingy all season, and that trend continued in a narrow win over in-state rival North Dakota. For the second straight year, the Bison held the Fighting Hawks out of the red zone, only allowing a 30-yard touchdown pass and 46-yard field goal. The 16-10 win put an end to North Dakota's 12-game home win streak in a rivalry that dates all the way back to 1894. In 4 games this season, North Dakota State ranks 4th nationally in total defense, is only allowing an average of 5.8 points per game, 2nd nationally, and leads the country in red zone defense. Western Illinois senior Dennis Houston has dazzled this season. The preseason All-Valley first team pick is leading the country in receiving yards and receiving yards per game at more than 124 yards a contest. Houston is 2nd nationally with 8.2 receptions per game, and his 5 touchdowns are tied for 6th nationally. The senior tops the Valley in 4 different receiving categories and all-purpose yards. 10 of the 11 Valley football teams are in action this weekend. Illinois State, the lone team that is idle. All Valley football games available to watch live or on replay on ESPN3 or Plus.
After last week's ESPN2 thriller, the Eagles improved to 5-0 overall and climbed up to number 4 in the nation in both national polls. Despite trailing by 11 in the fourth quarter, Eastern Washington stormed back to take a 34-28 win against Montana to preserve the Inferno's 19-game home winning streak. Eastern Washington's 5-0 start is the best under head coach Aaron Best and the best since 1985. Big Sky football continues to rank high in the national polls as Eastern Washington leapfrogged Montana to become the highest ranked team in the league heading into week 6 as the Eagles climb to number 4 following their win over Montana. UC Davis is also off to a 5-0 start, with it matching the best program start since 2004. A 6-0 start would become the program's best since winning 12 straight to start the 2000 season. In Northern Arizona, freshman quarterback RJ Martinez led the Lumberjacks to a 48-17 victory over Idaho State as the quarterback threw for 369 yards and 3 touchdowns. His performance earned him his first Player of the Week honor. I chatted with him about the significance. Let's take a look. You're earning this honor for the first time as a freshman. What kind of confidence does that give you moving forward throughout the rest of the season?
It gives me a lot of confidence. Going into the game and the games before that, I was very confident. I have a lot of confidence in my ability and my preparation towards each and every game. So, obviously it's a big confidence booster for me and my team just to get a big win like that at home. And we hope to continue that throughout the rest of the season, and hopefully make it to Big Sky championship and get a Big Sky championship, and then obviously make playoffs and do well in the playoffs.
What will it take for you and your team to win the Big Sky championship?
Just playing with attitude and effort. Coach Ball always preaches just playing with great effort and great energy. And we've done that for most of the year, and just to continue to keep doing that and continue to keep practicing really hard, and our preparation's got to meet our standard. So we just got to continue to keep doing what we want to do as far as Big Sky championships and things like that. So we just got to continue to build and practice and prepare as if we're going to be the Big Sky champs, and that's pretty much what's going to take for us to achieve our goal.
For the full interview with RJ, be sure to visit Big Sky Social. And with the continuation of conference season today, here's a rundown of all the Week 6 action. The Cal Poly Montana State game this Saturday will mark the first of 4 Big Sky games on Root Sports this season. The game will also be available on ESPN Plus, subject to blackout restrictions. And that's all for the Big Sky. Be sure to follow at Big Sky FB for around-the-clock coverage.
Colgate moved to 2-0 in Patriot League play with a 28-21 win at Georgetown in Week 5. The Raiders were led by wideout Garrett Oakey, who caught 5 passes for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. That included the eventual game winner early in the fourth quarter. Hi, I'm Maria Trivalpies for this week's FCS All-In. The game in D.C. wasn't the only league contest to go down to the wire. Fordham and Lafayette went back and forth for 4 quarters in a thrilling game on ESPN+. Lafayette quarterback Ashawn Davis, who won his 2nd straight Rookie of the Week award, connected with Julius Young on a 46-yard touchdown late in the first to cut into an early Fordham lead, and a 74-yard touchdown pass in the 3rd quarter put the Leopards in front for the first time at 28-21. Fordham retook the lead on a field goal in the 4th, but Michael Hayes' 3-yard run with 1:40 left made it 41-36. That was too much time for Tim DeMorat, though, as he led the Rams 71 yards down the field and scored from 2 yards out with 28 seconds left to give Fordham the 42-41 win. Bucknell also won in thrilling comeback fashion, scoring a pair of fourth-quarter touchdowns to take a 21-10 lead over Cornell, and the Bison defense forced back-to-back turnovers to secure the non-conference win over the Big Red.
It was huge. We hadn't had a lot of turnovers so far this season, and that's traditionally been a hallmark of our defense. We've created a lot of turnovers in the past. We scored a lot of points off of turnovers in the past. So to have 4 of them, 3 of them directly, either taking points off the board too deep in their red zone, the goal line, one of their final possessions, inches away from scoring a touchdown, and having that turn around to be a touchback for us with the fumble that John Searcy forced, and then the interception that Sterling Deary had earlier in that quarter gave us great field position on our opponent's 28-yard line. line. It gave us a short field, really our first short field of the season, and that was made it easier on a young offense. So yeah, the turnovers were easily the biggest factor in the game. Turning it over when we were on defense and not turning it over when we were on offense.
Bucknell will open its league slate in Week 6 with a trip to Lafayette, while Colgate, Fordham, and Lehigh will face non-league opponents, all on ESPN+. The Bison, the key will be stopping freshman quarterback Ashawn Davis.
Well, typically, again, a hallmark of a freshman quarterback is going to be inconsistent play. And I think you saw that early on. The first couple of series, he was under center, and then heading into the Fordham game. And then again, you can see the talent that he has. Really after the first drive or so, first 4 or 5 passes, the jitters had gone away. You can see the talent that he has. I mean, he's got the ability to be a really big time player in our conference. He can make all the right throws. He's athletic enough to scramble and get out of trouble. And when he's clicking, he is really accurate. In the downfield passing game. So it's still a freshman. You're dealing with a guy who hasn't played a lot of college football yet. We're going to have to try to keep him off his rhythm wherever we possibly can.
For more interviews and features from around the league, you can follow us on Twitter at Patriot League TV, and we'll see you back here next week.
FCS All-In rolls on. Welcome into our national correspondence segment. I'm Bryson Lesser, joined today by Sam Herder from Hero Sports. Sam, how we doing today? We got a lot of FCS action coming up here quick.
Yeah, doing good. It should be a good weekend of FCS action and ready to talk about it and watch the games today.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. And let's start here, Sam. We've got 11 undefeated teams left in the FCS. As you look across that group of 11 there, who's going to hold on to that the longest, and which one of those teams has a shot to maybe finish the regular season unbeaten here?
Yeah, we could be looking at several, maybe 3-4 undefeated teams, but I think the two most likely would be James Madison and Sam Houston, just because I like their path to an unbeaten season a little bit better than the others. I think James Madison is kind of a tier above everyone else in the CAA. Sam Houston has a pretty favorable schedule as well ahead of them. I mean, I just think, Eastern Washington, UC Davis, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, teams like that have a chance to be undefeated, but, going through the Big Sky, going through the Valley is going to be tough to go, unfazed and not suffer a loss somewhere in there.
Absolutely. There was a little movement in the Stats Perform poll this week, but the biggest storyline seems to be how close the vote is for the number 1 team in the country between Sam Houston and South Dakota State, separated by a single point this week. Do you remember a top 25 this close when we look at the very top spot? And what is it going to take for one of those two teams to separate from each other here in your mind?
Yeah, I don't remember as far as, a 1-point differential. But I do remember throughout 2017 and 2019 as well that James Madison and North Dakota State were pretty close as far as their voting point total. But I don't know if it was ever, 1 point differential there. And I think just the trend is showing that the more South Dakota State plays, they're kind of closing that gap and they're taking away more point totals from Sam Houston. And I think if South Dakota State keeps on winning, and assuming Sam Houston keeps on winning, I think eventually you'll see the Jacks overtake Sam Houston for that number 1 spot, just because South Dakota State has 4 ranked opponents on their schedule. Sam Houston, I think, only has 1 ranked team on their schedule right now. I believe that's Jacksonville State, who might end up bowing out of the top 25 by the time they play. And so I just think resume-wise, I think South Dakota State, if they do keep on winning, will probably, be number 1 by season's end if they stay clean.
Stuff. Let's look at some contests we got going today. Some big games for elite ranked teams. Who's more in jeopardy today when we're looking at North Dakota State versus Northern Iowa and James Madison versus Villanova?
Yeah, I think probably North Dakota State, not necessarily saying they are going to lose, but between the two, I think the Bison would be in a bigger danger of losing than James Madison. So I think the Dukes, Villanova should be a really competitive game. That probably are the top 2 teams in the CAA, but I think the Dukes will maybe have a bit of a wake-up call from last week's performance against New Hampshire. With North Dakota State, I think with the Bison, the question mark with them has kind of gone back to the offense after their showing against UND. and Northern Iowa arguably has just as good, if not a better defense than UND. And so I think this will be a good test for the Bison. It is at home at the Fargo Dome, but I think, the Bison offense that we saw in the spring that struggled with this downfield passing attack, I think we saw that again against UND. And so I think they'll have a tough time moving the ball against Northern Iowa.
Saturday night on ESPN2, the announcers kind of let slip that College Game Day might be considering a second FCS location this year. They opened week 0 at the MEAC SWAC Challenge. If they're going to go to another location this year, Sam, I mean, what school or matchup do you think is worthy this year?
There's so many variables with this, because most of the time, when they pick an FCS team or a game, it's because either the FBS slates, isn't all that good, or maybe, they were planning on going to one game, which would be like, 7 versus 10, but then that number 10 team loses. So that kind of takes the shine off of that game, and they decide to go elsewhere. So there are a lot of variables. I would love to see them go to the Brawl of the Wild to end the regular season, just because, 2 really good fan bases in Montana State. I think Eastern Washington, there's 2 games there in a row when they host Montana State, and also I believe it's Weber State. That's late October, early November. That's another good choice right there. And then in early November as well, the Dakota Marker game is in Brookings again. That's where game day went in 2019. That could be, 1 versus 3, 1 versus 4. And so that's another option as well. It just kind of depends on the FBS matchups and, where FBS teams are ranked that weekend. But I don't know, there's a lot of good games coming up. So I think they'll find a way to go somewhere by the end of this regular season, which will be really, really, really cool, obviously.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to see the FCS represented twice in the same year. That'd be really good to see. Let's transition here to bracketology for a minute, Sam, as we look into this upcoming week. We've had a lot of questions answered, but probably more remain than we've had answered. As you look at the bracket, the reveal's still quite a ways away. What are some of the bigger questions you still have in terms of the FCS bracket we could see at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think it's mostly the toughest decision might not be, the last 4 in, the last 4 outs. I think this year it might be who the top 4 seeds are going to be, because it could be, especially the top 2, because that guarantees you home field advantage until Frisco. And we could be looking at the 10-0 Sam Houston team with, defending champs, not a great strength of schedule. You could have an 11-0 James Madison team. How do they stack up against, either UC Davis or Eastern Washington? Could be 11-0 out of the Big Sky with an FBS win. Then either North Dakota State or South Dakota State could also be 11-0. South Dakota State has an FBS win. And so it's just, how do they stack up resumes? How do they stack up, maybe giving Sam Houston the benefit of the doubt just because maybe they play in a weaker schedule there. So I think that's the main question, is just, do they look at on paper resume? Do they look at games? Sam Houston has a lot of blowout wins to finish. How do they factor that in? And so that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Good stuff there. When you look at individual offensive players across the country, kind of feels like Eastern Washington's Eric Berry, and Southeast Louisiana's Cole Kelly are having a one-on-one battle for that top spot for the Peyton Award. They've both been so impressive this year, Sam, after finishing 1 and 2 last season. What have you seen out of those 2, and who do you think might have the slight edge at this point of the year?
Yeah, I think numbers wise, Eric probably has the slight edge right now, especially after, he proved it against Montana, who arguably has one of the better defenses in the FCS. And so Berry, I think that performance really showed, just how good he is. I do know, Jeremiah Briscoe won it 2 years in a row in the mid 2010s. And so it seems like sometimes voters will, if they're a returning Walter Payton Award winner is coming back and he puts up just as good a numbers, maybe they'll still defer to that guy. But I think it probably is going to be between those 2. Incarnate Words, Cameron Ward, he's having a good season as well. I think Cole Johnson from James Madison is having a great season. Pierre Strong, the running back for South Dakota State, he's playing really well, but it's hard for a running back to win this award, honestly, when you have quarterbacks putting up big time numbers. But yeah, I think it'll be 1A and 1B between Berry and Cole Kelly, because both are fantastic players. I think Berry probably has the edge right now, just with the numbers he's putting up.
All right, Sam, question on a lot of FCS people's minds right now. Give me your prediction. If you had to give it right now, who's playing for the FCS National Championship and why?
Yeah, right now I would probably say South Dakota State and Sam Houston. I think the Jacks are probably the most balanced team in the FCS right now, offensively and defensively. And then Sam Houston, again, it goes back to how the playoff committee is going to evaluate their resume. You know, if they are 10-0 with maybe only one ranked win, how does that stack up against James Madison with multiple ranked wins? But I do think that Sam Houston has a good shot to get a top 2 seed. Again, means home field advantage. They haven't lost a home playoff game in a long, long time. And so I think their path to make it to Frisco is still looking promising. So I'll take the Jacks versus the Bearcats as of right now.
Good stuff, my friend. What have you been working on? What can FCS fans head to Hero Sports and read about this week?
Yeah, still doing the bracketology stuff, top 25 stuff as well. Have the podcast coming out every week as well. So kind of the same stuff every week. And then, just going off of what happens over the course of this weekend, just kind of forming some story ideas as well.
Great stuff. Sam Herder from Hero Sports, thanks for being here with us. Before we go, we do want to mention real quick and send our thoughts and prayers to Craig Haley, who is not with us this week. He's away dealing with a personal matter, but we want to make sure we send our love out to Craig, and we'll see him back here on FCS All-In real soon. So, Craig, I know you're watching, and I know you'll be watching college football today, so we're thinking about you, our friend. And for FCS All-In, I'm Bryson Lester, and we'll see you next time.
Last Saturday marked the first full Southland slate of the season, with all 6 teams facing off against one another. As we gear up for another weekend full of conference play, let's take a look back at some of last weekend's top performances and our Player of the Week award winners, presented by Geico. For the second time this season, Southeastern's Cole Kelly is awarded the Offensive Player of the Week honor. The senior quarterback was effective both with his arm and with his feet on Saturday against McNeese, throwing for 391 yards and 3 touchdowns, while also rushing for a team-high 65 yards and a score. Kelly, who leads the FCS in completion percentage with a mark of 74.2%, completed 36 of 49 passes against the Cowboys for an impressive 73.5%. The reigning Walter Payton Award winner has run in for a score and has thrown for more than 250 yards and at least 3 touchdowns in every game so far this season. Also taking home his second weekly award this fall is Brady Buell from HBU, our Special Teams Player of the Week. The senior punter averaged 47.8 yards on 10 punts against Nichols, landing 5 inside the Colonel's 20-yard line. His longest punt of the day went a remarkable 65 yards, while 3 others were over 50 yards. And McNeese Cowboy Cordell Williams is named this week's Defensive Player of the Week. The junior linebacker was a force in the 3-point loss to Southeastern, racking up a career-high 17 tackles, 15 of which were solo stops. The 15 individual tackles are the most by any FCS player this fall, and the most by a Cowboy player since 2018. A big congratulations to Cole Kelly, Brady Buell, and Cordell Williams, our Player of the Week award winners. Now let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for Saturday. 4 Southland teams will be in action, with UIW and McNeese both on byes this week. The first game of the day kicks off at noon on ESPN Plus and will feature Nichols and Southeastern going head-to-head in the infamous River Bell Classic. The Lions came away with the 52-45 win this past spring, and with the series tied at 15 games apiece, this weekend's contest is sure to be one for the books. Both teams find themselves ranked in the Stats Perform FCS poll, with the Lions coming in at 14 and the Colonels ranked 25th. The other game of the day will feature the HBU Huskies hosting the Northwestern State Demons at 6 p.m. on ESPN3, both teams looking for their first wins of the season. Again, here's a look at the Southland slate for Saturday. Best of luck to all our student athletes taking the field this weekend.
I'm Eric Danner for the WAC Report on FCS All-In. The 95th Battle of the Piney Woods proved to be one of the most memorable in the storied series of the game. At NRG Stadium in Houston, home of the Texans, Stephen F. Austin jumping out over Sam Houston. Trey Self to Xavier Gibson. The Lumberjacks would take a 13-0 lead. Then just before the half, Keegan Shoemaker subbing for an injured Eric Schmid finds Jaquez Ezzard SFA up 13-6 at the break. Third quarter, Self to Lawton Reichel makes it 20-6. The Lumberjacks faithful looking to end a 9-game losing streak in the Battle of the Piney Woods. Fourth quarter, 4th and 8, Shoemaker to Ife Adeyi for the shoestring catch. They review it, it's a touchdown. Bearcats still alive, down 20-14. Next possession, Self gets sacked by Jahari K. He fumbles, Jacks recover. K is named Ticket Smarter Defensive Player of the Week. Bearcats get the ball back. After a face mask call on another 4th down play, freshman Trapper Pinnell goes up the gut for the score. We're tied at 20. With kicker Seth Morgan out, backup freshman Christian Pavone converts the extra point. SHSU up 21-20. Last chance for SFA Chris Campos going for a 51-yard field goal, but it goes wide right. Number 1 ranked Sam Houston survives and wins the Battle of the Piney Woods.
It was a great win, and what a great atmosphere. Thank the Texans for everything they do. It's like a bowl game for our kids. It really is. It's like a bowl game. For recruiting, it's amazing. For the WAC, we had representation from the WAC here, and their eyes were like, wow. Yeah, it's like, yeah, this is one of the great football traditions in America. This game between us and Stephen F. Austin.
Coming up this week, Sam Houston hosting Lamar in a WAC/AQ7 matchup. That is a 2 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Stephen F. Austin traveling to Jacksonville State. You might remember the Gamecocks upset Florida State earlier this season. That is at 3 Central. Both games are on ESPN+. After falling at number 3 ranked South Dakota State, Dixie State plays another top team as the Trailblazers travel to Missoula to take on number 6 ranked Montana. That is a 1 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff on ESPN+. Tarleton making the trip to Richmond, Kentucky to face Eastern Kentucky. And we get another great highlight from Tariq Bitson. He had 3 catches for 66 yards, but the Texans offense held to just 3 points by the Colonel's defense. EKU winning 20-3. Tarleton is on a bye this week. Meanwhile, Eastern Kentucky will host WAC opponent Abilene Christian, who will be making the trip to the Bluegrass State. That will be a 6 p.m. Eastern Time kick on ESPN+. The Wildcats hosted Central Arkansas this past week, and things looked good for ACU early. Stone Earl tossing 2 touchdown passes to make it 14-0, but the Bears come storming back, winning 42-21. For FCS All-In, I'm Eric Danner.
What's up, everyone? Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, back with you again for an Ivy League football preview video, this time as we head into week 4. And as we take a look at the Ivy League football standings, the same cast of characters are at the top of the rankings, but there are some teams at the bottom still have enough time this season to work themselves up to get to the top and challenge for the Ivy League crown. Now let's get to some game previews involving the Ancient 8, and we'll start in Rhode Island where Brown plays host to Colgate. Now the Colgate offense has been just that offensive this season. They haven't been able to find the end zone often. They've turned the ball over at a high clip. They just have to be much better. So this is a great game for Brown to get right on both sides of the football. Expect a lot of scoring here for the Brown Bears, and look for their defense to find their footing against a much maligned Raiders offensive attack. Next, let's take a look at Columbia as they travel to Jackaroot Field to take on Central Connecticut State. The Columbia Lions, in my opinion, played a really good defensive game last weekend against Princeton, only holding that Princeton offense to 24 points. And this is a team that was able to turn the ball over. They were able to slow down the run game to 3.5 yards a carry. They were also able to do a good job in getting off the field. They just need their offense to have a much better day against the Blue Devils defense. Now, defensively for the Lions, if they can have an encore performance and taking away wide receiver Tayshawn James, the big play threat for the Blue Devils, they have a great chance to get their 3rd win of the season. Cornell takes on Harvard, and which should be a fantastic matchup because, again, like we've said before, the Cornell Big Red defense has been ready to play from start to finish. They need their offense to really step up and start becoming more consistent. If that can happen in this game, they have a really good chance of pulling off the upset against the Crimson. Let's say they stop the running game of Harvard, but what they will have to make sure they stop is wide receiver Keaton Olderman, the outstanding freshman. This guy is 6'3", 215 pounds, and plays like a 7-year veteran. I threw that joke in there because some guys have that added benefit of having that extra eligibility because of the COVID-19 season. But all jokes aside, Olderman has been fantastic so far this season for the Crimson. I'm excited for his future. He has legit NFL-type skills already as a freshman. Next up, we have Lehigh traveling down to Philadelphia to take on the Penn Quakers. And if you're Lehigh, you're about sick of the Ivy League at this point in the season. You got shut out by Princeton and you got shut out by Yale, both combining for over 30-plus points, so you're 0. So if you're looking at the Penn Quakers coming into this matchup, this is a team that's trying to get back on a winning track. They're trying to get their offense back on the right side of making productive plays consistently in the passing game and also with their run game. In a couple of the bigger games on the Ivy League football schedule, you have Princeton traveling to Monmouth to take on the Hawks at the Jersey Shore. Should be a fantastic matchup. A couple years ago, I was a color analyst on this broadcast, and this was a fantastic game for the Princeton offense. They're hoping to get back on the right track. Cole Smith didn't have his best day throwing the football last weekend against Columbia. He's looking at this Monmouth defense and thinking that he can get back in a groove throwing the football. Their defense will be put to the test once again because Tony Muskett of Monmouth has a wide array of weapons in Lonnie Moore at wide receiver as well as Terrence Green Jr. So it's going to be a fantastic matchup, a strength versus strength matchup, 2 outstanding quarterbacks and passing games. I can't wait to check this one out. And finally, Yale travels to Dartmouth to take on the Big Green in the best Ivy League versus Ivy League matchup of the weekend. Yale has a tremendous tailback in Zane Dudek. They'll try to lean on that very tough defensive front seven of Dartmouth and try to run the football and then allow their quarterback to operate off play action. But if you're Dartmouth in this ball game, you have a double-headed rushing attack, one that involves the quarterback, Nick Howard, who can just line up at the QB position and just run QB power all day long. Or you have a tremendous tailback in Zach Baer, who does a great job in his own right running the football. So me as a former college running back, I love this matchup. It should be a great one and a great way to close out the Ivy League schedule for week 4. So that's it for this week's edition of the Ivy League football preview. Keep it locked here on ESPN Plus for more Ivy League football digital content.
Here's a look back at Week 5 action in the MEAC and a look ahead to Week 6 in the league.
MEAC preseason Offensive Player of the Year Jawan Carter found the end zone in overtime as Norfolk State defeated rival Hampton 47-44 in the Battle of the Bay for the Spartans' 3rd consecutive win on Saturday. Carter accounted for 5 touchdowns, rushing for 3 and throwing 2 more in the victory. Jared Lewis found Trey Gross from 17 yards out in overtime as Delaware State snapped its 3-game losing streak with a 33-27 win over Wagner on Saturday. Savion Wilkerson led the Hornets with a career-best 169 rushing yards and a touchdown. Corey Fields Jr. threw for 314 yards, and Dante Anthony found the end zone twice as South Carolina State picked up its first win of the season on Saturday, a 42-35 triumph over Bethune-Cookman at Willie Jeffries Field at Oliver C. Dawson Stadium. Howard also picked up its first win of 2021, defeating Sacred Heart 22-17 in the Bison's home opener, behind 3 touchdown passes from Quentin Williams. North Carolina Central lost a heartbreaker in the final minute, falling 17-16 at Mississippi Valley State, and Morgan State fell 27-14 to St. Francis at home. The first conference game of the season is this Friday, when Morgan State travels to Washington, D.C. to take on Howard. That game will be live on ESPNU at 8 p.m. On Saturday, Delaware State will return to Alumni Stadium to take on Virginia University of Lynchburg, while North Carolina Central will be back home to face Tennessee Tech. Both games will be live on the MEAC Digital Network on ESPN+. The weekend will wrap up with South Carolina State hitting the road to take on Florida A&M. For more information on MEAC football and the conference's 15 other sponsored sports, visit MEACsports.com. Follow the MEAC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MEAC Sports, and subscribe to the MEAC Digital Network on YouTube.
Hello from the Big South Network studio. I'm Mark Bryant with this week's football report. And while the Big South has 5 games this weekend, one matchup in particular is receiving the most attention. Campbell and Gardner-Webb go head-to-head in a new in-state rivalry game called the East-West Barbecue Bowl. Paying homage to North Carolina's barbecue heritage, the teams are playing for a hefty trophy topped with a decorative pig as well as a barbecue feast from the losing school. Eastern style for the Camels, Western or Lexington style for the Runnin' Bulldogs. We spoke with both coaches to discuss the concept, the game, favorite barbecue, and more.
Our president, Dr. Downs, we obviously have a new president, new head coach here, trying to spark some interest and get some juice going. He comes to me and our athletic department and says, hey, do we have a rivalry game? And I was like, I don't think so. I don't know. Not a true in-state rival. He's an NC State grad, so he loves the North Carolina rivalries in the ACC. And he says, hey, what if we want to start one with Campbell? I said, great, let's do it. Eastern North Carolina versus Western North Carolina. And then obviously they ran with the idea of the barbecue bowl and it's taken off from there.
You got 2 North Carolina schools in the Big South. It makes too much sense not to have a trophy going back and forth between the 2 schools. And so I'm glad the presidents got together and felt like this was something that can bring some excitement, right, to FCS football, football in North Carolina, and bring excitement to this game and try to make it, something really, really fun to do.
Yeah, I like vinegar-based, straight pulled pork, chopped, potato salad, side, some green beans, maybe a little macaroni and cheese, but it's got to be vinegar based, and it'll be a good dinner.
I love brisket, and so that's probably my favorite piece of the pig is the brisket. Maybe some potato salad and some beans on there. I think that'll be a good, nice barbecue plate.
We got to play harder, finish plays. I think we got to get the ball in space versus these guys. They're a talented defense, a talented offense. They're a really good team. Coach Minner's done a great job recruiting. He's been there a while. He's got an established culture of what he wants it to look like. And we're in the young stages of our program and trying to build something similar and outperform our opponent. But we got to take care of the ball, get the ball in space and stop the run. Those are kind of the keys to victory for us.
I think we got to play great defense. I think Gardner-Webb offense is explosive. They got a great running back and a great receiver that transferred over from Wofford and number 0. And I like their quarterback. I think he's a tough kid that make great decisions and put the ball in the hands of the guys who can make plays. And so we got to be able to stop this offense. They're gonna test everything about you on defense. And so it's going to be, important for us to slow that offense down. And then offensively, we got to be explosive. Man, I look forward to it. This is going to be fun to start to create this tradition.
I can tell you this, our guys are fired up about it. I mean, our players are excited. And, gives you a little bit of extra incentive. And we've had a good week of practice, and I think our guys are excited to play the game. It's a big deal to create a rivalry, and I told our team this may be something that goes on for hundreds of years. We don't know. And it'd be cool to be the first team, my first season, having our name on that trophy.
It's Ralph Ventry here, back with more NEC football on FCS All-In. And today, we're giving you 7 super plays. So sit back and enjoy the NEC Football Super 7 Countdown, the best of the best from Week 5. It's time for the NEC Football Super 7 Countdown presented by Geico. I'm Ralph Ventry, and I have 7 super plays from Week 5 in NEC football. Play number 7. Katero Summers beats the defender, and Justin Slowoski puts the pass right on the money.
What a great throw, and Summers makes the touchdown-grabbing catch.
Play number 6. Tie game on Grimes Hill. Delaware State on the plus side of the field, but Wagner's Titus Leo says not right now. The sack was one of 5 tackles for a loss for Leo in this game. The Seahawks had 18 TFL as a team in Week 5. Play number 5. NEC opener for Duquesne and Merrimack. The Dukes were on the road going up against the NEC's leading pass offense, but Jeremiah Josephs and his teammates were up to the challenge. One of 4 interceptions on the day by the Duquesne defense, and Josephs takes it all the way back into the red zone. Duquesne added to its lead shortly thereafter. Play number 4. Bryant looking to ice a home win over Ivy League member Brown. It's 3rd and 5. Zevi Eckhouse steps up in the pocket and delivers a beauty to David Zarilla. 29 yards for a first down and a dub. Play number 3. St. Francis looking to take control at Morgan State. Look at the wheels on Justin Slowoski. Looks like he gets into the end zone on this one, but he was ruled out at the 2. It leads to a red flash touchdown and a 27-14 SFU victory. Play number 2. Rookie quarterback Zevi Eckhouse was a driving force behind Bryant's Week 5 win. 335 pass yards and 3 TD passes, including this one to Anthony Frederick on the rollout. 24-yard strike, perfect ball placement. Frederick with more of that nice footwork, a lot to celebrate on homecoming in Smithfield. And the number 1 play on the Week 5 Super 7 Countdown comes from Duquesne's impressive road win over Merrimack. Garrett Owens is a bruising between the tackles type of runner, but offensive coordinator Anthony Doria decides to motion Owens out wide. And wow, what a call, what a ball by Darius Parentis, and what a grab by Garrett Owens. So there you have it, 7 super plays from Week 5 in NEC football. Thank you for watching the NEC Super 7 Countdown presented by Geico.
Here's a special interview from Southeastern Missouri head coach Tom Matukowicz.
Now in his 8th season at Southeast Missouri, head coach Tom Matukowicz has helped turn the program around, winning championships and making playoff appearances. But he wants to make it clear the turnaround has been more than just his doing.
I haven't done anything. Like, I haven't made a catch or made a tackle. So the first thing is we've been able to get a lot of really good people here, both players and coaches, and it's taken everybody and administrators. You win with people. I don't care if you're selling gas or trying to win football games, people win. You get the right people in place, nothing matters. If you don't have the right people in place, nothing matters. It's going to be hard to have success. And so the thing that I'm most proud about is the people that have been within our organization, both players and staff.
Those individuals have helped the Redhawks earn respect by winning the 2019 OVC Championship and earning back-to-back playoff appearances, a first for the program.
We brought respect and pride to SEMO football. When I first got here, I had a player tell me that he won't wear any SEMO football gear to his classes because they made fun of him for being a football player. And I mean, it broke my heart. And now I probably have the other problem. We got guys, think they invented football around here, but SEMO football means something now. And it's the job of me and the rest of the coaches and players current that we keep that going.
While on-the-field success is important, Coach Took knows his program has a bigger purpose.
The purpose of SEMO football is to use the sport to make better men. It's personal. I'm a first-generation college graduate. My kids' kids have a different life because of the game of football and the men that coach it and play it. And so we run our program like that. Like it's about personal growth is going to drive player growth. Player growth is going to drive team growth. And so we're all about the player development and the person development. We coach them just as hard off the field as on the field. And I tell them, hey, homie, don't play. You don't want to get a degree, don't come here. And obviously, when they do struggle in classes and stuff, as they will, they're human. We're going to make sure we're there to support them and give them the help they have. But this is a get better program, and it's not just football here. It's bigger than football, and so that's the DNA of our football program.
That DNA also reaches into the Cape Girardeau community.
Certainly being a Division I football program in a town, like you have an obligation, but also an opportunity to invest deeply in our town, in our region. And so whether it's with kids or serving in other areas, just community is awesome, right? Like that's what COVID took away. Like we couldn't come together. So that's personal to me, but our players love it. They love doing community service, and I'm proud of the things that we've done in the past. When everything was going down with the social injustice stuff, we, had a car wash and we raised, I think it was about $15,000, and we funded 2 minority police scholarships to the police academy here on campus. And that was a great experience. Our players really enjoyed that. But we also, feel like you just did something. You didn't just tweet a hashtag. You actually tried to move the needle and try to improve things.
While Coach Took has achieved on-field success with the Redhawks, his impact in shaping young men and making a difference in the community has been just as impactful.
Through 2 weeks of conference play in the Pioneer Football League, 3 teams sit atop the standings with unbeaten records. It was a thrilling weekend of action as all 5 games were decided by 1 possession, while 2 games went into overtime. Davidson moved to 2-0 in PFL play after taking down Stetson 35-28 on the road. Dylan Sparks' 1-yard touchdown with 3:31 remaining in the game put the Wildcats ahead, while a sack from Jonathan Hammond closed out the Stetson threat to end the game. Coy Williams led the Davidson rushing attack with 3 touchdowns and 71 yards in the game. Hammond earned Co-Defensive Player of the Week honors for his performance last week. He finished the game with 4 tackles, 3 of which came behind the line of scrimmage, and the walk-off sack. Marist and Morehead State each picked up overtime wins in their first conference competition of the year. A 25-yard touchdown in overtime capped Marist's win on the road in Valparaiso as they took the game 27-24. After Marist got up 21-7 in the third quarter, Valpo stormed back to tie the game with a pair of scores in the fourth. Running back Hunter Cobb led Marist's offense with 141 yards and 2 touchdowns on 18 carries. Morehead State ended their extra time contest in exciting fashion, with Tyler Noble pulling down an interception to end the game. The interception came after Mark Pappas threw a 25-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Williams on Morehead State's first play in overtime. Dayton forged a 10-point comeback in the final 3 minutes of regulation to force overtime, but it wasn't enough to get the win. Pappas earned Offensive Player of the Week honors for Morehead State after his 481-yard, 6-touchdown performance. On the West Coast, San Diego earned a close win over St. Thomas, finishing ahead by 3, 27-24. San Diego's defense and special teams combined to score the game's final 13 points, with a scoop and score by Kamakamaka and a pair of field goals from Brandon Eichert. Kamaka was named Co-Defensive Player of the Week for his efforts, which included the defensive touchdown and 6 tackles in the win. Eichert was 2 of 2 on field goals and 3 for 3 on point after tries to account for 9 of San Diego's 27 points in the win. He was named Special Teams Player of the Week for his performance. The final game of the week was a defensive battle between Drake and Butler, which ended with a 6-3 win for the Iowa Bulldogs. Cross Robinson scored the game's only touchdown on a 6-yard burst into the end zone, while Butler was limited to a 40-yard field goal from J.J. Wattis in the second quarter. After the first 2 weeks of league play, here's a look at the standings. We've got 5 games on the schedule for today. Take a look at the lineup.
Southwestern Athletic Conference has named its SWAC Football Players of the Week, with Grambling State's Noah Bodden being named SWAC Offensive Player and Newcomer of the Week. Bodden made his first career start at quarterback on Saturday as he helped lift Grambling State to a 37-28 home win over Alabama A&M. He went 16 of 34 in passing while throwing for 191 yards and 3 touchdowns. Grambling State's Cameron Richardson played a significant part in helping lead Grambling State past Alabama A&M. His fumble recovery for a scoop and score capped a 24-yard second quarter for the Tigers. Richardson's late interception in the game helped set up Garrett Urban's successful field goal attempt, which subsequently sealed the game for the Tigers. Garrett Urban was named SWAC Specialist of the Week. Urban connected on 3 field goal attempts of 27, 27, and 39 yards, and helping lead Grambling State to a win over Alabama A&M. His 27-yard field goal with 43 seconds remaining helped seal the game.
In 1920, an athletic league was formed and slowly became one of the leading sports associations in the world of collegiate athletics, the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Today, the SWAC is looking towards the next century, growing, supporting, and transforming our intercollegiate sports activities for student athletes and promoting academic excellence. Each SWAC member institution represents a high level of integrity and sportsmanship. We are the SWAC, building champions for life.
Thanks for going all in with us. You can catch every episode of FCS All In right back here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell icon to stay up to date on all the latest FCS All In content. Until next week, let's be sure to keep the conversation going on social media by using the hashtag FCS All In.